In recent years, Pokemon games have received a copious amount of criticism, from the quality of their trees to the dummy AI who spams cosmic power instead of attacking during 5-star raids. And of course, the most recently released remakes of Diamond and Pearl were also plagued with problems and glitches. In most cases, it's pretty easy to overlook all these design issues and enjoy the games for what they are. However, there was a new feature that stood out to me quite a bit during my first run of Brilliant Diamond. I say new because it's been around since Gen 6. However, it's never been this noticeable during a main run of a game. Friendship. This anime-inspired mechanic gives your Pokemon a ton of power-ups, the ability to survive at 1 HP, the ability to recover from any status condition, the ability to dodge moves, an increased crit hit rate, and a 20% experience point gain boost. Do we really need the extra EXP though? In older iterations of Pokemon games, you had to put in quite a bit of effort to unlock all these power-ups, but in BDSP, they were given to us naturally, with fairly little effort on the player's side. This feature basically carried me and many others through these remakes, and I wasn't too sure how to feel about that. On one hand, it was great that my Combi could tank hits like an Umbreon, but at the same time, my Combi was tanking hits like an Umbreon. So I made a poll in my community tab and on Twitter to get a better understanding of the public's opinion on the friendship feature in BDSP. I was somewhat surprised to see that most people didn't absolutely hate the game's guts for having this mechanic. On the other hand, many people loved the feature. Of course, as someone who does research as like a side job, I know that behind every number there is a deeper meaning, so the next step is to look at all the comments, kind of summarizing everything. But in terms of positive responses, people noted that the feature really helps create hype moments. It balances out some of the difficulty, especially with the Elite Four and Cynthia, and that in a way, it made the game feel a bit more like the anime. But most importantly, people really seem to enjoy seeing the outcomes of bonding with their Pokemon, and not just a line of text saying they're happy to see you, or they looked back at you when they're obviously not looking back. Lots of sharks put it best by saying, I just love bonding with my Pokemon and actually seeing the results of bonding with them. Friendship has always been a mechanic, but it was never as visible or noticeable as bonding with Pokemon is in the anime. However, the list of negative responses was quite a bit longer. The most common concerns were that it was really easy to get, it reduces the challenge of the game and removes strategic elements, and finally, that its effects activated way too frequently. Another common issue was something I didn't see coming, and I think the devs didn't either, but people had problems with the increased crit rates, where their Pokemon would randomly knock out something they were trying to catch. Poor Santa over here accidentally killed a shiny. Oddly enough, the main complaint was that the friendship mechanic felt unfair and cheap. Why are we the only trainers to get access to all these special powers? Do Barry and Cynthia really not love their Pokemon enough? What about all the gym leaders? Although to be honest, I think most people wouldn't want the NPCs having access to these features, as it would make some battles extra difficult for no good reason. Imagine Cynthia's Lucario dodging to set up Nasty Plot and then surviving by 1 HP several times while wiping out your whole team. I think that would make a lot of people rage quit this game. The one common denominator between all the positive and negative views on this feature is that it really ought to be optional. A simple switch like that for the battle effects or text speed would be all it takes to give players control over how much friendship impacts their experience with the game. But since Game Freak is Game Freak and they still haven't given us that option for the EXP share, I doubt we're randomly gonna get it for friendship. So instead, I'd like to give them some ideas on how I would go about fixing this mechanic so that it still provides all the positive experiences while reducing people's complaints. And that brings me to my experience with this feature, which I think is somewhat unique from the ones described above. You see, I did my run of Brilliant Diamond using Pokemon that don't or can't evolve. So I had several weak Pokemon like this male Combi and several strong Pokemon like the Spiritomb. In terms of this friendship mechanic, I was always super excited whenever Combi would randomly trigger one of its special effects. That meant it usually got to live an extra turn or deal a lot more damage. It made this seemingly useless Pokemon a lot more useful in battle, and I didn't have to spam a bunch of X items to make it good. However, the feature did feel kinda cheap on the more powerful Pokemon like Spiritomb. I just got this thing like 10 battles ago and it's already at max friendship? I hope you see where I'm going with this. I think it would be very beneficial to make either the effects or growth rate for friendship scale inverse proportionally to a Pokemon's base stat totals. That is to say, Pokemon with high base stats would either take much longer to build friendship and or would have a much lower chance of getting one of the friendship effects triggered. Arceus ought to be a Tsundere Baka. Umbreon are bulky enough as they are, but do they really need to survive at 1 HP 5 times during a battle just because they needed the high friendship value to evolve in the first place? But what if you really liked Wooper? Maybe after taking the cute thing training all over the Sinnoh region and refused to evolve it, it ought to be able to dodge an energy ball from Cynthia's Roserade and land a crit hit with its Ice Punch. Sadly, it can't learn Ice Punch in this game. That would be a very hype moment, and to some degree, I think it wouldn't feel like a cheap win, or at least not nearly as cheap as if, say, Empoleon pulls it off. After all, Wooper's stats aren't very good, and you like Wooper, and you kept Wooper on your team this entire time, and you need a good reason to keep Wooper on your team other than I like Woopers. So a Wooper with all the benefits of the friendship stat boost would be pretty cool to have. The same could be said for any other low base stat Pokemon that you may like. This feature should be used to make your favorite Pokemon a lot more useful in battle if it isn't already. It shouldn't be used to make strong Pokemon even stronger, because that is when this mechanic starts to feel cheap. The next level of nuance I would add would be to have activities which would boost the odds of getting a specific effect to activate. Let's keep using Wooper as an example and say that the whole inverse proportion thing from before would affect building the friendship stats and activation rate. So Wooper would become friendly with you a lot faster than Dialga and would also get the effects at a much higher rate than Dialga. That would give you a reason to keep Wooper on the team, but if you really wanted to make it as valuable as a Dialga, at least for story battles, you're gonna have to give it some extra love and affection. So there could be activities similar to EV training, but for the different friendship effects. Status healing, durability, dodging, and critical hits. Maybe make things like having a Pokemon walk with you boost their dodging rate. After all, their cardio's on point since they were chasing you up and down that cycling path. It would make sense if it also made them able to dodge moves a little bit better. And that would also prevent the rest of your team from suddenly becoming Flint's Drifloon. This individual base growth would also save many players from the problem of accidentally crit killing the Pokemon they wanted to catch. My Wooper may have a boosted crit rate since I did the daily meditation at the waterfall activity, but my Absol won't suddenly become a crit hit tyrant from just being on my team. This could also explain why NPCs don't have access to this feature. Barry doesn't heal his Heracross with yummy items like Moo Moo Milk, so its durability stats aren't built up high enough to activate. And Cynthia hasn't been restoring her Milotic status effects with berries, so it wouldn't miraculously unburn itself, even though we all wish it would. There are all these little things that could be incorporated in the game's mechanics to allow players to choose which Pokemon gets that boost. This would not fully disable the friendship mechanic, but it would only be frequent on Pokemon with lower base stats or those that you actively invested time and cool items on. It would make the boost feel earned, which was one of the main complaints people had about the feature. Most importantly, it would reduce the burden for those who don't wish to use it. If you're doing a Nuzlocke, you won't have to spam hundreds of herbs at your team just so that the run feels fair. On the other hand, if you really like the Pokemon, you would likely activate these bonuses by accident, just from choosing to interact with the creatures you liked in a more friendly manner. You have them out of the Pokeball and following you around. You feed them fun healing items like Moo Moo Milk and Pecha Berries, and you choose them for the random daily activities like massages or waterfall trainings or whatever. Of course, this is not a 100% perfect fix to the mechanic, but in my opinion, it would make it a lot more fun moving forward, especially since it would allow trainers to bulk up their favorite Pokemon without making their whole team super broken. Let me know what you think about this proposed solution, or how you would go about fixing friendship without simply adding an on and off toggle, because I don't think Game Freak is gonna do that. Also, do let me know if you'd like to see more videos in this style, where I talk about a game mechanic, their positive and negatives, and propose a solution based on my experience and certain design principles. Are there any other mechanics or games that you'd like me to talk about? Let me know in the comments below. I look forward to reading all of them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.